Okay, so do you guys want to see like a summary of my date? I will show you like a total summary of my fucking date. Okay, so this is basically the summary. This is like my biscuit. And summarising the date. Fingers getting burnt. Soggy biscuit. That is basically a summary of my date. It was just, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't even know where to start with this one. This is just too crazy, this one. 2 weeks ago, I put a message on my Facebook status to say everyone that I want to go out with is coupled up tonight and I'm sat at home alone. And it was meant to be like just a jokey status for all my like loved up friends. And then I got this inbox message from a guy that I went to uni with. He just texted me, didn't even say hello, just said, "Are you single?" I text back saying yeah. And he texts back saying, "Oh, because I always fancied you from first year." And I was just like, oh, okay, thinking I never really spoke to you, but I do remember you. And I think I might have had one conversation with you. We had like a 2-minute Facebook chat conversation. And it ended with him saying, "Oh, let me know if you're interested and I'll give you my number." So I just like thought about it for a few days. And I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to go on this date. So I sent him a message maybe about a week later saying, "Oh, so when are you taking me out?" In like a jokey sort of way. And he went, "Oh, can I?" And I said, "Yeah, of course you can." And then we started like Facebook chatting again for like a couple of days. And it was just sort of like hi, bye sort of thing. And then he just suddenly started with like the weirdness. And the weird stuff he was saying is like, you know, just like straight to the point, blunt stuff. "Oh, I'm looking for a woman. I'm not looking for a girl. I'm looking for quality. I'm looking for wifey material. I'm looking for someone that got brains. I'm looking for someone that's not stupid or a pushover. I'm looking for someone that I don't need to explain how the Grand Canyon was made. I'm looking for someone really smart." And I'm looking like, and I just thought, okay, that's fine. You've got all these things that you want. Just get to know me and just see if you like me. I drove up to his workplace on my day off and we met up for like drinks. During the time between when we arranged the date and when we actually met up, we were texting like every day and we had, I think, a couple of phone conversations in the middle. I just remember thinking he just said kind of slightly weird things, like basically 28, 29 years old, and he said he'd never been in a relationship before, and he made it quite clear that he didn't sleep around with girls. He was a straight up honest guy and he was just looking for something serious and nothing like, you know, not anything just wishy-washy. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm nearly 30. I'm looking for something more serious as well. But it was weird to me that he'd never been in a relationship before. And then I said to him, like, so if you haven't been in a relationship before, what does that actually mean? Like, obviously you've been on dates and you've met up with girls. And he said I'd make my decision within 2 weeks, whether that girl is wifey material or not. And I was like, so you don't really get a chance to get to know somebody. You just sort of rule them out like really quickly. And he was like, yeah, I just know within like a few days whether I'm going to want to see them again. And I was like thinking, well, with your track record, I don't really have much chance because so far nobody's like fit the bill and you haven't actually had a girlfriend. And then he obviously started asking quite personal questions about my relationships. Was I intimate with my relationships and did I see them going anywhere, and were they, you know, could I see a future with them? And I was like, well, yeah, like a couple of them I've obviously had, like I wanted like to have a future with, and for whatever reason it didn't work out. And I said, well, I've learnt from my mistakes and, you know, I wouldn't sort of, I know what I'm looking for. And he said, well, I don't make mistakes because I know what I want and I know how to act. And I was like, okay. And it was really like complimentative in this time of me because we were talking about random stuff. He was asking me what I like doing and all this kind of random stuff, and he seemed to be quite approving of like everything I said. And he was like, oh, that's good, you seem ambitious. Oh, that's good, you seem quite funny. Oh, that's good. Don't analyze me out loud. Like, think it in your head, but don't say out loud what you're thinking because that's just really weird. And he's like, oh, I'm a business analyst, that's what I do. And I was like, okay. And then he said to me, I know exactly what girls look for. I know exactly what girls want. And I was like, okay, but how if you've never had a girlfriend before? And he's like, oh, I get my education from listening to R&B music. I know exactly what girls want and I would make the perfect husband and everything. And I was like, okay, so you think that listening to R&B and Joe and Jaheim and people like that is going to teach you about how to have a relationship and how to keep a person happy? And he was just like, yeah, I know exactly how to treat a woman. I've been taught to respect them, and if I don't think they're the right one, just get rid of them. And I was like, oh my god, like, why am I wasting my time? So we went on this date. This is even before the dates happened. So we went on this date. He made me wait for 15 minutes. So he told me to be there at like 3:45, and he said, yeah, make sure you're there. Make sure you're there at 3:45. So I rang him when I got there, and I was like, look, what time are you going to be ready? Because I'm already here and I'm waiting just where you told me to wait. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll be there in about 15 minutes. And I was like, okay. So I'm in the middle of a town that I don't know, and I'm sitting in a pub where I don't really know anyone, and he's just like, yeah, just wait there 15 minutes. And when he turned up, I made a joke about him being late, and he said, yeah, I told you to come 15 minutes early because most girls are late. And I was just like, oh, okay. And then he was like really complimentative the whole time, and he was one of those people that just like literally stared you out while he was talking to you. And it was kind of nice to have that sort of attention, because most guys, they get quite shy and they don't really give you eye contact, and I did find him like really attractive and stuff as well. So it was kind of nice to have that sort of attention. And he was very, very complimentative of like how I look, and he was really upfront about the fact that he liked me at uni but didn't do anything about it, and just said, I'm really, really shy person, like I didn't do anything about it at the time, I didn't know what to do about it, like I really liked you and I didn't even think you were going to speak to me. And I was just like, god, I'm not horrible, you could have come and spoken to me. We were having our drinks, and he said, oh, I have to leave in like an hour or so because I've got to go to my grand's house for dinner. I was like, okay. And then we started talking about family, and he really liked the fact that I'm really close to my family. And he said, oh, a lot of girls I date, like he goes, I won't date Harrow girls and I won't date Leicester girls, and he have areas of girls that he won't date. And because I fell out of those two criteria, he decided that he was going to take me out, which again I thought was a little bit odd, because I thought you can't categorize everybody in one area. So after our date, he sent me a text message going, you are amazing, you're like exactly what I'm looking for, you're smart, you're intelligent, you're funny, you're pretty, you know how to keep conversation going, you weren't really rude, you weren't sat there on your phone. And he goes, yeah, I really, really like you. He just kept saying, you're amazing, no seriously, you're amazing. And I was to my sister, why is this guy being so like far forward? And my sister's like, well, if he goes on dates and like after 2 weeks he dumps a girl, and he's telling you you're amazing when you've only met once, and he's already trying to, and then he tried to arrange like a second date. He just kept saying, oh, do you want to come to a concert with me? Can I take you out for dinner this time? And this was after the first date, so I thought, okay, he seems to be quite happy with me. Like we seemed to get on, and we like had banter, and it was fun, and it was quite a nice date apart from the random stuff that he kept throwing in there, which made me feel like I was doing a test or something. I thought after, as it got better, I thought actually, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing you again just to sort of get to know you a little bit more. Now I know what you're kind of looking for, and I'm obviously looking for something fairly serious eventually anyway. And then he was, yeah, I'm looking for quality, not this shit that you get on dating sites. And he just kept saying like weird stuff. I've got like a whole list of what weird stuff that he was saying. He's like, I want someone that has a brain, that can hold a conversation. I want someone with ambition, someone smart, basically not a bimbo. I'm looking for quality, he kept saying. He said, I don't want to waste time having relationships unless she's the one, because if I know that I'm not going to want to marry her, or unless she's a wifey material, I'm not going to want to see her again. And I was like, okay, so you don't really give girls a chance then. And I said, what makes you stop seeing somebody? And he goes, when I find out a major flaw. And I was like, oh my god, like what do you mean by major flaws? And he's like, well, you know, their personality, or they're not family orientated, or they say something stupid. And I was like, oh my god, this guy is like so picky, it's ridiculous. I don't think the girl that he is looking for basically exists. Yeah, so then I was like, so how do you know how to keep a girl happy? And he was like, I listen to R&B. And I was like, okay. So everything was going really well until yesterday night. So up until yesterday night, we were already arranging our second date, and he decided it was going to be dinner. And then he asked me to go to a concert with him, kept saying I was amazing the whole time, and kept saying, no, seriously, you're amazing. And then yesterday, he kind of annoyed me. I was watching a really boring film. I'm going to give you the details of the film because it was so fucking boring. I was watching Music and Lyrics with Hugh Grant and Drew Barrymore, and I kind of love those two as actors, but I really didn't enjoy the film. Like I found it really boring, and I texted him saying, oh, I'm just watching a really boring film, and it's meant to be a romantic comedy, but I don't think it's that romantic, and I don't think it's that funny. And then he goes, oh, what film are you watching? And I told him, and I told him the storyline, and then he rang me, and then he said to me, oh, so are you into this whole like romance, falling in love thing in movies? Are you quite romantic? And I said, yeah, of course I am. Like, I'm a girl, I like to be pampered, I like like to be taken care of, and I will do the same. I'll totally reciprocate. I will, you know, do lots of little things for my partner that I think are nice things to do. He said, I love all that kind of stuff as well. And I said, but you've not had a relationship to do all that kind of stuff. And then he said, I don't see the point of wasting time doing all that kind of stuff. It's not going to be my future wife. And I was just like, I don't understand. And then he said, don't you feel bad? And I said, what do you mean? And then he goes, don't you feel bad that you haven't saved it for your future husband? Are you indirectly asking me about sex? Like, I don't understand. And I said, well, no, because I've learnt from the mistakes I've made. I've learnt from relationships I've been in, and now I know pretty much what I'm looking for. And I think basically he wants the Virgin Mary. Then I went to bed because I was tired. I sent him like a little smiley face and I just said, I'm going to bed, I'm really tired. This morning I got this message, which really fucking pissed me off, to say, this is what pissed me off. Hey, I've been thinking, I don't mind being mates with you, but I don't think it can go beyond that. Our values and morals are very different, so I don't think it would work long time. I'm more traditional minded, hence looking for someone with a similar mind frame. And then I text back, because I was so annoyed after the conversation that we had. I text back saying, yeah, that's fine. I was starting to think exactly the same. Mate sounds good though. And then he put, really? Which I don't understand. Like, was he surprised that I was thinking the same thing, or was he surprised that I wanted to stay mates? And then he put, you're a really nice person. And he said, I mean it, just make sure you find someone nice. And then he texted me saying, do you still want my cardigan? And that conversation happened because he sent me a picture of himself in like a red cardi type thing, and I really liked it. And because I was trying to flirt with him, I was like, oh, I think you should give that to me. That's what potential girlfriends do. They steal their boyfriend's clothes. So I text him saying, what, the red one? Laugh out loud. And then he put, yeah, I'll give it to you next time we meet. I'm like, so you've just told me I'm not wifey material. You've just told me you don't have the same morals and values. And now you're like, next time we meet, blah, 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 blah. And he put, yeah, I'm off to London on Friday, going to see my favourite band, so I can see you Saturday. And I was like, is this the concert that you invited me to and are now uninviting me to? So clearly I'm being uninvited from this concert. And then I put, you don't really have to give me your cardigan, honestly. And he put, yeah, so how about next week Saturday? And I'm just like, I don't understand. Like, you've just rejected me. I don't really get it. And I put, oh, I am working on Saturday. And I said, honestly, I don't really want your cardigan. I was joking. It's yours. And he put, you will look hot in it. Yeah, you look really cute. Laugh out loud. And then he didn't send anything for like an hour. And then he sent me a picture of his family. I need a coffee. Sent me a picture of his family. And I just text back saying, oh, they look really sweet. And he said, oh, they're proper Indians. And I just put, oh. And that's the last conversation I've had with him. I just don't get it. I just don't understand. Like, somebody please explain what this guy's thinking. He clearly doesn't want me to be his wife because, oh, and by the way, I lasted 10 days. So 10 days between speaking to him, dating him, and basically getting told to get lost. 10 days, which I think is probably the shortest amount of time that he's ever spoken to somebody, despite saying I was amazing, despite saying I was this and that. And I think he is looking for somebody that doesn't exist. I think he wants the Virgin Mary, and the Virgin Mary clearly doesn't exist. And I don't really understand what changed his mind after we spoke yesterday, but obviously he didn't like the fact that I've been romantic with other people. So that is my ridiculous date. I just don't know what's wrong with me. Why do I find these people from? Why can't I just find a nice boy that just likes me the way that I am? I just don't get it. So I don't know, I guess it just wasn't meant to be. So hope you enjoyed my ridiculous date story. I wish these things wouldn't keep happening to me. I just wish I could come back and go, do you know what, I found the right person, like I found the right guy. But it just looks like it's a really long road until we get there. So I will keep you updated, and I will see you guys in the next video.